The massive alien vessel appeared without warning in Earth's orbit on a quiet Tuesday morning. Its dark hull stretched nearly 10 kilometers across, blocking the sun and casting an ominous shadow over parts of the Pacific Ocean. Global panic erupted within hours as governments scrambled to make sense of the situation. Military forces worldwide went on high alert, but no one knew what to do against a ship of such incomprehensible size. At exactly noon GMT, every electronic screen on Earth, from smartphones to billboards, suddenly flickered and changed. The image that appeared showed a humanoid figure with pale blue skin, elaborate facial markings, and cold, calculating eyes. The being wore an ornate uniform adorned with symbols of unknown meaning. "People of Earth," the figure spoke, its voice deep and commanding despite being translated from an alien language. "I am Admiral Tahoe of the Keldorian Empire, rulers of 300 worlds across this galaxy. Your planet has been selected for integration into our empire. You have 30 Earth days to surrender your sovereignty and resources. Resistance is futile and will result in your extinction." The transmission ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving humanity in shock. Within 3 hours, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session with representatives from every nation on Earth. The Grand Chamber was filled with tension and fear as world leaders argued about how to respond. "We must surrender immediately," insisted the representative from a small European nation. "You've seen the size of their ship. We cannot hope to fight such advanced technology." "Surrender means slavery or worse," countered another diplomat, pounding his fist on the table. "We must stand and fight, whatever the cost." In the back of the chamber, Dr. Juan Park sat quietly analyzing data on her tablet. As Earth's leading quantum physicist, she had been rushed to New York on a military transport the moment the transmission ended. Her fingers moved rapidly across the screen as she examined every aspect of the alien broadcast. General Chunho Kim of South Korea's armed forces, recently appointed to head the hastily formed Earth Defense Coalition, noticed her intense concentration and moved to sit beside her. "Have you found something?" he asked quietly. Dr. Park didn't look up from her tablet. "There's something unusual about their shield signatures," she whispered. "The transmission contains background data, radiation patterns from their hull. They're using some kind of quantum field, but it has strange fluctuations. Can we exploit it?" the general asked, a small spark of hope in his eyes. Dr. Park's brow furrowed as she studied the readings more carefully. "Perhaps, but we'll need time." General Kim's expression darkened. "Time is the one luxury we don't have," he replied grimly. "But I'll get you whatever else you need." While Earth's leaders argued in New York, research facilities around the world began analyzing every scrap of data from the alien ship. In Tokyo, scientists noted unusual radiation. In London, astronomers detected strange energy patterns. In Cape Town, physicists observed quantum anomalies. All this information was sent directly to Dr. Park as she established a makeshift laboratory beneath the UN building. Meanwhile, military forces worldwide began preparations for a fight most believed they couldn't win. Aircraft carriers moved into strategic positions. Nuclear arsenals were readied. Special forces trained for scenarios no one had ever imagined possible. But against a ship that could cross interstellar space, what good were Earth's primitive weapons? Across the solar system, aboard the massive Keldorian command ship, Admiral Tahoe watched Earth's response with amusement. His bridge was a marvel of advanced technology, with floating holographic displays showing real-time intelligence gathered from the planet below. "They've called an emergency meeting of their governing body," reported his second-in-command, Officer Miso. "Their military forces are mobilizing worldwide." Tahoe chuckled as he watched footage of tanks rolling through desert terrains and fighter jets taking off from carriers. "They actually think they can fight us," he said, shaking his head in disbelief. "How amusing." "Should we simply eliminate them now?" asked Miso. "Why wait 30 days?" Tahoe walked to the main viewing window, looking at the blue-green planet hanging in space. "Standard protocol, Miso. We give them time to surrender peacefully. It saves resources." He smiled coldly. "Besides, I enjoy watching them scramble like insects before a storm. Our intelligence reports indicate they're studying our transmission," Misso added, reviewing a data screen. "A scientist named Park seems particularly interested in our shield signatures." Tahoe dismissed this with a wave of his hand. "Let them study. Even if they discover how our shields work, their primitive weapons cannot penetrate them." He turned to face a large holographic display of Earth. "Mark the most valuable resource deposits. Prepare mining plans. Once the 30 days have passed, we'll begin the harvest, whether they've surrendered or not." Back on Earth, as night fell over New York, Dr. Park remained in her makeshift lab, surrounded by computers and equipment rushed in from research facilities worldwide. General Kim entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "The Security Council is still debating," he said, placing 1 cup beside her. "Half want to surrender, half want to fight." "And what do you think?" Dr. Park asked, looking up from her work for the first time in hours. General Kim sighed. "I've fought in wars my entire life. I know when a fight is hopeless." He paused, staring at the ceiling. "But I also know that surrender to a tyrant only delays death. It doesn't prevent it." Dr. Park nodded and turned her tablet so he could see it. "Look at these patterns in their shield harmonics. There's a fluctuation every 12.7 seconds. It's tiny, but it's consistent." "What does it mean?" the general asked. "I don't know yet," she admitted, "but every technology has weaknesses, even alien technology." She took a sip of coffee and straightened her shoulders. "We have 30 days to find theirs." As Earth's first night under alien watch came to an end, 2 paths were being set. On the Keldorian ship, Admiral Tahoe prepared for what he saw as an inevitable victory. On Earth, Dr. Park began the seemingly impossible task of finding a weakness in an advanced alien defense system. Neither knew that the fate of humanity would hinge on the quantum fluctuation of an alien shield, a tiny flaw that might just be enough to save a world. Dr. Park's laboratory sat 50 meters beneath Seoul's busy streets, hidden from prying eyes and potential Keldorian scans. What had once been a nuclear fallout shelter was now the center of Earth's scientific resistance. The vast underground space hummed with activity as the world's brightest minds worked around the clock. 7 days had passed since first contact. 23 days remained until the Keldorian deadline. Dr. Park hadn't slept more than 2 hours at a stretch for the past week. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and empty coffee cups littered her workstation. On the wall behind her hung a digital countdown timer, a constant reminder of humanity's deadline. "More coffee, Dr. Park?" asked her assistant, Sunho, holding out a steaming cup. She took it without looking up from the complex quantum equations filling her screen. "Thank you," she murmured, immediately taking a sip of the bitter liquid. Around her, 30 scientists from 12 countries worked in teams, analyzing different aspects of the alien technology based solely on the transmission data. They had little to go on, just radiation signatures, energy fluctuations, and background readings from the original message. "This isn't working," said Dr. Yum, a physicist from Busan University. "We need more data, actual pieces of their technology to study." "We work with what we have," Dr. Park replied sharply. She rubbed her tired eyes and returned to her calculations. 3 hours later, as the scientists worked in focused silence, Dr. Park suddenly froze. She ran the simulation again, then a third time. Each result was the same. She slammed her hand down on the desk with such force that everyone in the lab jumped. "I found it," she exclaimed, her voice echoing through the cavernous room. The team gathered around her station as she pointed to her screen. "Their shields operate on a frequency that interacts with our atmosphere in an unexpected way. Look here, when their shield harmonics encounter the nitrogen-oxygen mix in our air, there's a millisecond delay in the energy distribution." "Is that useful?" asked Dr. Yim. "Yes," Dr. Park said, her eyes bright with excitement despite her exhaustion. If we can create a weapon that fires precisely during that millisecond gap, we might be able to penetrate their defenses. For the first time in 7 days, a sense of hope spread through the laboratory. Halfway across the world, on a remote island in the Atlantic, Commander Minho Lee pushed his international strike force to their limits. 40 soldiers from 20 countries, the best special forces operators Earth had to offer, trained for a battle unlike any humans had ever fought. Again, Commander Lee shouted as his team failed to complete the simulated boarding exercise. The Kildorians won't give you a second chance, and neither will I. The soldiers, exhausted but determined, reset their positions and began the drill again. They moved through a mock-up of what Earth scientists believed a Kildorian ship might look like inside, based on architectural analysis of the commander's video broadcast. "Sir," called his assistant, Jia, from the observation deck. "General Kim is on the secure line." Commander Lee nodded. "Take 5 minutes," he told his team before jogging up the metal stairs to the command center. "Any progress?" General Kim asked when Lee answered the call. "We're improving, but fighting an enemy we've never seen, in environments we can only guess at." Lee shook his head. "It's like training to swim by studying pictures of water." "Keep pushing them," the general ordered. "We need to be ready for any opportunity." As Lee returned to the training floor, an alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Red emergency lights flashed along the corridors. He sprinted to the command center where Jaya was listening intently to her earpiece. "What's happening?" he demanded. "A Kildorian scout ship has crashed in the Pacific," she informed him, eyes wide with excitement. "About 200 kilometers east of Japan. Recovery teams are en route." Lee's heart raced. "Get the team ready. We're wheels up in 15 minutes." Within the hour, Commander Lee's strike team was airborne in a modified transport plane, racing toward the crash site. Naval vessels from Japan and the United States were already creating a perimeter around the area. Intel says it's a small craft, possibly damaged during atmospheric entry. Jia briefed the team during the flight. "Satellite imagery shows it's mostly intact. We don't know if there are survivors." When they arrived at the scene, 3 naval destroyers surrounded a small section of ocean where something metallic gleamed just below the surface. Military divers were already in the water. "No life signs detected," reported the Japanese captain. "The ship appears to be empty." Commander Lee nodded. "Secure it and prepare for transport. This goes directly to Dr. Park's facility in Seoul." 16 hours later, the damaged alien craft sat in the center of Dr. Park's underground laboratory. It was surprisingly small, about the size of a city bus, with an elegant curved hull made of materials unlike anything on Earth. Scientists swarmed around it like ants, scanning every centimeter with handheld devices. Dr. Park stood before an open panel, staring at the alien technology within. The components glowed with a faint blue light, despite the ship being powered down. Her eyes widened as she recognized patterns similar to her theoretical models. "Their propulsion system has a critical flaw," she whispered, reaching out but not quite touching the alien device. "If we can target it precisely." "How soon can you weaponize this knowledge?" General Kim demanded as he entered the lab, flanked by security personnel. He had flown directly from United Nations headquarters when he heard about the recovered ship. Dr. Park turned to face him, standing straighter despite her exhaustion. In her eyes burned determination and something else. Hope. "Give me 5 days," she said firmly. General Kim nodded once. "You have 3. As the general left, Dr. Park turned back to the alien craft. She placed her palm against its cool, smooth hull. For the first time since the massive Kildorian ship had appeared above Earth, she allowed herself to believe that humanity might have a chance. In orbit, aboard the Kildorian command ship, Admiral Tahoe frowned at the report before him. "How did a scout ship crash?" he demanded. "Our technology doesn't simply fail." His second-in-command looked uncomfortable. "The pilot reports atmospheric turbulence caused unexpected stress on the hull." By the time he ejected and returned to orbit, The craft had already crashed into their ocean, and the humans have recovered it, Tahoe stated flatly. Yes, Admiral. Tahoe stared at the view screen showing Earth rotating slowly below them. It matters little. They cannot comprehend our technology, let alone use it against us. He turned away. Prepare the fleet. When the deadline expires, I want our ships in position to begin the harvest immediately. Back in Seoul, as a new day dawned, Dr. Park and her team worked with renewed energy. The countdown timer on the wall continued its relentless march toward zero, but now they had something the Keldorians never expected to give them: a real chance. 28 days after the ultimatum, Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station in the Atacama Desert detected the first signals. Massive energy signatures appeared near Neptune's orbit. The astronomer on duty stared at her screen in disbelief before activating the global alert system. Within minutes, observatories and space agencies worldwide confirmed the readings. The Keldorian reinforcements had arrived. By dawn, enhanced telescope images reached every government on Earth. The Keldorian fleet emerged at the edge of the solar system, 300 warships strong. They moved in perfect formation, their massive hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. Earth's satellites captured the magnificent and terrifying sight of their approach. "My God," whispered General Kim as he studied the images in the underground command center beneath Seoul. "Each one is bigger than an aircraft carrier." Dr. Park stood beside him, her face pale but determined. In the 3 weeks since recovering the scout ship, she had barely slept. Her team had worked day and night to develop Earth's defenses. "The automated factory satellites have finished deployment," she reported, pointing to a different screen showing a network of small objects now orbiting Earth. 240 units, positioned as we calculated. These were Dr. Park's miracle, a network of modified satellites, hastily constructed and launched from every available rocket on Earth. Each contained technology reverse-engineered from the crashed scout ship, ready to transmit precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses designed to disrupt the aliens' quantum drives. "How long until they reach Earth?" asked President Hyjin, who had joined them via secure video link from the presidential bunker. "At their current speed, 22 hours, replied the head of the Space Command. The president's face showed the strain of the past month. Once a vibrant, energetic leader, she now looked years older, with dark circles under her eyes and new lines etched into her face. "And our ground defenses. Every nation has mobilized their military forces," General Kim answered. "Civilian evacuations to underground shelters are 93% complete." President Hyjin nodded, then turned her attention to Dr. Park. "Will it work?" she asked, her voice carrying the weight of 7 billion lives. Dr. Park met her gaze through the screen. There was no point in false hope now. "Our models give us a 30% chance of success," she replied honestly. "But it's our only option." A heavy silence filled the command center. 30%. Less than 1 in 3, but better than 0. "Then we proceed," the president finally said. "May God be with us all." As the meeting concluded, General Kim pulled Dr. Park aside. "There's something you should know," he said quietly. "Commander Lee is leading a strike team to attempt boarding the Keldorian command ship." Dr. Park's eyes widened. "But that's suicide." "He knows that," the general replied grimly. "But if your system fails, it's our last option." On the other side of the command center, Commander Lee was studying detailed holographic models of the Keldorian vessels, based on data gathered from the scout ship. His strike team of 40 elite soldiers surrounded him, committing every detail to memory. "The command ship will be here," he explained, pointing to the center of the projected formation. "If Dr. Park's weapon works, there will be a brief window of confusion. That's when we strike." Their plan was desperate. Using a modified shuttle equipped with Keldorian cloaking technology salvaged from the scout ship, they would approach the command vessel during the initial attack. If Dr. Park's satellites successfully disrupted the alien shields, the team would board the ship and fight their way to the main control systems. Once inside, We plant these. Lee held up a small device, an antimatter charge developed from the alien power source. One in their engine room, one in their command center. A young soldier raised her hand. Sir, the simulations show that even if we reach the targets, we won't have time to escape before detonation. Commander Lee looked at each member of his team. These were the best soldiers Earth had to offer, men and women who had volunteered for what would likely be a one-way mission. I won't lie to you, he told them, his voice steady and clear. Many of us won't return. Perhaps none of us will. But today we fight for every human who has ever lived or will live. No one spoke, but backs straightened and jaws set with determination. They had all accepted the cost. As Earth prepared for battle, the Keldorian fleet continued its steady approach through the solar system. On the massive command ship at the center of the formation, Admiral Tejo stood on his bridge, watching Jupiter grow larger in the view screen. Communications from Earth. He asked his second-in-command. None. Admiral, Officer Misso replied. They have not responded to our final demand for surrender. Tahoe smiled coldly. As expected, these primitives cling to their false hope of resistance. He turned to address the bridge crew. Prepare the harvest ships. I want resource extraction to begin immediately after we neutralize their defenses. Officer Misso worked at her console for a moment, then looked up with surprise. Admiral, our scouts report unusual satellite activity in Earth orbit. They appear to have deployed new technology within the past few days. Show me, Tahoe ordered. A holographic display appeared, showing hundreds of small objects positioned in a complex pattern around Earth. Tahoe studied them briefly, then laughed. Their desperation is almost admirable, he said. Analyze these devices. I wish to know what primitive defense they think will save them. Minutes later, the analysis was complete. The satellites appear to contain energy emitters. Admiral, purpose unknown, but they pose no threat to our shields. Tahoe nodded, unsurprised. Send the standard pre-harvest message to the fleet. We begin operations in 20 hours. He activated the fleet-wide communication system. His image would now be displayed on every ship under his command. Warriors of the Keldorian Empire, he began, his voice filled with confidence. Before us lies our newest conquest, a world of abundant resources and stubborn inhabitants. Like all primitive species, they resist the inevitable. He paused, looking at the image of Earth now displayed beside him. A blue jewel hanging in the darkness. Tomorrow, we will take what is rightfully ours. This primitive world will fall like all the others. This is not a battle. It is pest control. As his words echoed through the fleet, on Earth, final preparations continued. Families huddled in shelters. Soldiers manned their positions. Scientists monitored their equipment. And in Seoul, Dr. Park made the final adjustments to her satellite control system, praying that the tiny flaw she had discovered in the alien technology would be enough to save humanity. The Keldorian fleet entered Earth's orbit as the sun rose over the Pacific Ocean. The sky filled with massive ships, their dark hulls blotting out the morning light in cities across Asia. People who had ignored evacuation orders stared upward in horror at the armada that had come to claim their world. Admiral Tejo gave the order without ceremony. Begin the operation. The first assault was swift and devastating. Concentrated energy beams shot down from the fleet, targeting military installations and communication centers. Within minutes, global communications were in chaos. Radar stations, satellite uplinks, and military command centers went dark one after another. In underground bunkers worldwide, military leaders struggled to coordinate a response. Fighter jets scrambled from hidden airfields, only to be swatted from the sky by weapons they couldn't comprehend. Naval vessels fired their most powerful missiles, which detonated harmlessly against Keldorian shields. "This is Admiral Harrison of the U.S. Lincoln," came one of the last transmissions from the Pacific Fleet. "We've launched everything we have." No effect. There. The transmission cut to static. In Seoul's underground command center, Dr. Park and General Kim watched the unfolding disaster on the few communication channels still functioning. The room was eerily quiet despite being filled with military personnel. The only sounds were the soft beeping of equipment and occasional whispered reports. "They're exactly where we predicted," Dr. Park said, pointing to the holographic display showing the Keldorian fleet's position. "The command ship is in the center of their formation." General Kim nodded grimly. "Then we proceed as planned." He picked up a secure phone. "This is General Kim. Authorization code Delta 7 Echo 9. Activate Operation Thunderstrike." Dr. Park turned to her control station. The satellite network she had designed was their only hope. 240 satellites positioned to create a global web of precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses. If her calculations were correct, those pulses would exploit the weakness she had discovered in the Keldorian shields. If she was wrong, Earth's last defense would fail. Her fingers hovered over the activation sequence. She thought of her parents in their shelter, of the billions of people waiting for salvation. She pressed the button. "Now," Dr. Park shouted as she activated her satellite network. On screens around the command center, they watched as beams of concentrated energy shot from the satellites, targeting specific Keldorian vessels. For 3 agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, to everyone's surprise, a dozen alien ships suddenly lost power and drifted in orbit. Their lights flickered and went dark. The energy weapons they had been charging fell silent. "It's working," General Kim exclaimed, his normally stoic face breaking into a smile. Around the room, officers and technicians began to cheer. More Keldorian vessels began to show signs of distress. Their perfect formation broke as ships drifted aimlessly. Earth's remaining military forces, seeing the opportunity, launched a coordinated counterattack. Meanwhile, hidden by the chaos of the initial assault, Commander Lee's stealth ship approached the massive Keldorian command vessel. His modified craft, using cloaking technology from the crashed scout ship, moved undetected through the battle. Inside the small craft, 40 soldiers sat in tense silence. They had trained for this mission knowing many would not return. Each wore armor pieced together from Keldorian materials, carrying weapons modified with alien technology. Docking in 3 minutes, Lee informed his team as they prepared their weapons. "Remember the plan. Teams Alpha and Beta secure the path. Team Delta carries the charges to the central core. Team Omega heads for the bridge." His second-in-command, Captain Yuna, nodded. "What about the prisoners we might encounter?" "Free them if possible," Lee replied. "But the mission comes first. Earth depends on us." Their ship approached the command vessel's hull, using a docking protocol extracted from the scout ship's computers. With a soft thud, they connected to an external maintenance hatch. "Pressurizing," the pilot announced. "Ready in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go." The hatch opened, and Commander Lee led his team into the alien vessel. Aboard the Keldorian command ship, alarms blared as reports of disabled vessels flooded in. Admiral Tejo stared in disbelief at the tactical display, showing his fleet in chaos. "Impossible," he shouted, his composed demeanor cracking for the first time. "How are they penetrating our shields?" Officer Miso worked frantically at her console. "The human satellites are emitting some kind of pulse that matches our shield frequencies," she reported. "It's creating a momentary gap in our defenses. Regroup and adjust shield frequencies." Tahoe ordered, his voice cold with rage. "Destroy those satellites immediately." Before his orders could be carried out, a new alarm sounded. "Security breach in Maintenance Section 12, a voice announced. "Unknown intruders detected." Commander Lee's team moved through the alien vessel with practiced precision. The corridors were wider than human ships, with strange blue lighting that cast eerie shadows. They encountered their first resistance at a junction. 3 Keldorian security officers who fell quickly to the humans' modified weapons. "Move faster," Lee ordered as they pushed deeper into the ship. "They know we're here now." More Kildorians appeared, their weapons firing pulses of energy that melted through the walls. 2 human soldiers fell, then 3 more. The team pressed forward, returning fire and throwing modified grenades that disrupted the aliens' energy weapons. By the time they reached the central power core, half of Lee's team was dead or wounded. The massive chamber housed a swirling vortex of energy contained within crystal-like structures, the quantum drive that powered the entire vessel. Plant the charges, Lee ordered as alien reinforcements closed in. Set them for 10 minutes. That should give us time to reach the bridge. Captain Yuma and her team quickly attached the antimatter devices to the power core's containment structure. Charges set, she reported. 10 minutes and counting. Back on Earth, Dr. Park monitored the battle from her station. The satellite network was working even better than expected. Nearly a third of the Kildorian fleet was now disabled. But as she studied the energy readings, she noticed something unexpected. "The ships," she whispered, then louder, "the ships are all connected through some kind of quantum entanglement. The command ship is the key." General Kim rushed to her side. "What does that mean?" Dr. Park's eyes widened as she realized the implications. If Commander Lee destroys the command ship's power core, it won't just disable that ship. It could create a cascade effect through the entire fleet. She grabbed a communication device. "We need to contact Commander Lee. He needs to know." But as they tried to establish communication with the strike team, another wave of Kildorian jamming cut through their systems. The connection failed. On the command ship, Commander Lee and his remaining team fought their way toward the bridge, unaware that their mission had just become far more important than they realized. Behind them, the antimatter charges counted down, ticking away the seconds until either Earth's salvation or its final defeat. Here's a concise version of the story in simple English. The final battle against the Kildorian invasion was about to reach its climax. Commander Lee and his small team worked quickly, setting explosive charges deep inside the alien command ship. Sergeant Do-Yun confirmed the 2-minute timer was active as they fought their way through enemy defenders. Dr. Park watched from Earth, her scientific expertise giving them a critical advantage. She had discovered a way to use quantum entanglement to potentially destroy the entire alien fleet. As Lee's team escaped in their ship, the explosives detonated, causing unexpected chaos among the Kildorian vessels. The massive alien ships began to fail one by one. Their systems collapsed, leaving them completely defenseless. Earth's military seized the opportunity, launching a massive counterattack against the now vulnerable invasion force. Admiral Taiho, the Kildorian commander, could only watch in shock as his powerful fleet crumbled around him. Within just a few hours, the once mighty alien armada was reduced to floating debris in Earth's orbit. The few surviving Kildorian ships either surrendered or fled in panic. Humanity had achieved the impossible. They had defeated a technologically superior alien invasion. 6 months after the battle, things had changed dramatically. At the United Earth Space Defense Headquarters, Dr. Park, Commander Lee, and General Kim stood together, watching the first human starship prepared for launch. This ship was built using technology reverse-engineered from the defeated Kildorian vessels. The experience had transformed humanity. They were no longer just another planet, but a serious contender in the galactic arena. Commander Lee asked Dr. Park if she thought the Kildorians would return. Her response was calm but confident. They would probably try again, but Earth would be prepared. General Kim reflected on the momentous occasion. Humanity had proven its resilience and capability. They had fought against an advanced alien race and emerged victorious. The first human starship represented more than just a technological achievement. It symbolized hope, courage, and the potential of human determination. As the ship prepared to launch, the 3 leaders knew this was just the beginning of humanity's journey into the stars. They had defended their home and proven that they were ready to explore and potentially defend themselves in the vast, unknown universe that awaited them. The maiden voyage represented a new chapter for humanity. no longer just observers, but active participants in the cosmic story.